Hey, everyone, it is December 4th, Thursday. Welcome to the live stream. Sorry for the late start. Was setting up surveillance. It took a little longer than I had expected. So thanks for joining me today. Don't forget to engage the channel, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share the podcast. So big breaking news today. Intelligence has discovered who the pipe bomber is, made an arrest in the pipe bomber for January 6th, the January 6th pipe bomber at the DNC and the RNC who planted inert devices. Really quite interesting development. It seems like the intelligence services, intelligence folks, it looks like they want to put somebody else out there, a fake suspect. What do you call that? A patsy? I think that's going to be the case because apparently there was an investigation, a crowdsourced investigation that was going on that had to do with a woman that worked for the Capitol Police that ended up working for the CIA after January 6th, 2021. And since the crowdsourced investigation was hot on the trail of the pipe bomber, we had to have no, we got somebody, don't worry. So they haven't named the suspect yet, and we're going to get to that in just a second. Also, apparently, Mark Warner has called for a military coup against President Donald Trump. And we're going to get to that story as well. So that's big breaking news coming up right now. We got over 30 stories and headlines to get through. So let's see, barring any unforeseen technical glitches. I think I did work out some stuff with OBS recently. Had too many inputs going on and they were clashing with each other. So I think I fixed it. So I don't really always claim to have that sort of technical prowess, but I'm pretty good with tech. I'm analytical by nature. So we'll see if this all works out without any glitches moving forward. Also, that kind of forestalled the start of today's episode was Safari, which I gave a second chance. I'm really not happy with. Had a total meltdown just a second ago. Hopefully it doesn't happen now. I tried to pop out a live chat window and Safari just crashed. So that took me a few more minutes to get started, and we're going to get started right now. So let's read the news. We're going to start with Fox News. First glitch. We're going to start with Fox News and the breaking story this morning, which is FBI arrests suspect in DC pipe bomb case after a 5-year investigation. A 5-year investigation. And then miraculously, as the crowdsource investigation is closing in on a suspect, a Fedsurrection suspect. I'm sure this patsy will probably be, I don't know, tied to Alex Jones or something. Something convenient like that. So I don't put any weight on this arrest. I think it's the FBI covering their ass, because once intelligence, always intelligence. And if you didn't know, all intelligence are integrated, not just through intelligence fusion centers and stuff like that. And military intelligence is sometimes separated, but civilian intelligence, particularly throughout the Western world, and even in some aspects with other countries, non-Western countries, are all integrated. So the law enforcement arrested, let's get to this story here. Law enforcement arrested a suspect, a male living in Virginia, early Thursday morning, sources said. They don't really have anything else. So the fact he's from Virginia makes it also suspect because the CIA just took over Virginia by allowing one of their own, Abigail Spanberger, ex-CIA officer, to become governor of that state. So if you didn't know, Langley is in Virginia. The CIA runs the state, basically. Youngkin, when he was elected, was kind of a Trump fluke. They didn't think he was going to get elected. They didn't put much stake in it, but it did happen. So since we're talking about elections, I had a couple problems yesterday. I've been preoccupied with getting this new tech set up. And it's been very glitchy, full of glitches and some of the technical things that they don't really want to allow you to do. I want to do, and I thought this would be easier. It wasn't easy, full of glitches that I had to work out. So I think we're okay for now. So let's wait and see. So sorry for the late start. I want to get to this one article or a couple articles here that I missed, that I put in today's stack. So the first one obviously is the special election that happened in Tennessee. Republicans hold on to Tennessee, dashing Democrat hopes of an upset. Republicans win in a special election for the 7th congressional district after sweating the Democrats might pull off a surprise victory. Let me be clear here that I didn't even want to report on it because it's a non-story. This seat has been red for 40 plus years, this district, right? It's very unlikely that the Democrats were going to make out here. They said it's going to be close, and some pundits are still saying that it was close. It was not close. 9 points is not close. It's almost double digits. And that's probably with some cheating going on. So it wasn't close. It was good that the Democrats the Republicans got out in front of this lefty loony after she bashed Nashville and made sure that those statements got out there in the media. Good for them. It was unlikely that she was going to make a victory. I think it's the media and the political parties were making more out of this than it actually was. And I didn't even really want to cover it, but Van Epps wins. A Republican holds that seat, which is good. And the Democrats want to push the narrative that the Republicans are floundering and Trump is spiraling and it's all chaos. And, the problem is that the midterms are always unfavorable to the party in power. Let's make history here, please. Also on the docket today, Just the News is reporting an election integrity push. DOJ on track to compel voter roll cleanups in over half of U.S. states. It's not enough. Not enough. It's absolutely not enough because there's so much cheating going on. And the fact is that mail-in ballots, really mail-out ballots, are an avenue for fraud. And unless you get rid of mail-out ballots, you're never going to stop the cheating, because if there's no monitoring, you're certainly going to have truckloads of ballots, no folds, no creases in them, showing up at important battleground districts. In any case, this is really about Harmeet Dillon, who's leading the charge. She's the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights. She says the sloppiness of the elections in blue states is no accident. It is on purpose. It is a feature, not a bug. And the goal is to cram as many people on there and make voters who are not particularly engaged, make it easy for someone else to help them fill out their ballot and return it for them. And when they didn't care enough to do it themselves, it's a name. It's getting a registered name on the roll. And then the Democrats just take those voter rolls and make sure they secure the ballot attached to that name and make sure it gets turned in with the aid of the person that ballot is assigned to or not. She goes on to say, and that includes each state's requirement to keep clean voter rolls. That is a fundamental basic. It is, without a doubt. There's no doubt about that. And I wanted to put that there so you would understand the context of what happened in Tennessee. So they got within 10 points of a traditionally Republican district. How did they do that? It's not because of the skill or expertise or of their candidate. It's more than likely cheating and doing this thing. And it's okay for Republicans to say, hey, we're going to get on board with the mail-in ballots, but the goal should be to remove them. And short of that, cleaning up the voter rolls is a good idea. And for the Trump administration to do that is also very good. All right, PJ Media is reporting, also big story of the day. Did a Democratic senator just call for a military coup against Trump? If you didn't see this, I think it was on CNN or MSNBC. Senator Mark Warner said, I think in many ways the uniformed military may help save us from this president. I think in many ways the uniformed military may help save us from this president. If you've never served, you have to understand that the chain of command is essential, and the delegation of duties and orders is essential on how the military serves. So if you're the CEO of the company, you could go down to the mail room and tell a mail clerk what to do. It's the same thing in the military. If the president shows up and says, storm that hill, or one of his administration says it, you should do it. There's nothing illegal about storming the hill, and there's nothing illegal about the military killing people, right? They're not civilians if they're engaged in acts that are against the United States, deemed against the United States. So I got a little bit into the Pete Hegseth thing. Again, it's a real nothing burger. The military under Trump is designating people terrorists and killing them. The thing is, if the Chinese communists were blowing up hundreds or thousands of drug boats that were trying to get opium back into China, no one would say anything about it. All right, these people are committing. This is a literal war on drugs, which I don't care. I'm a libertarian. I don't care if you made it legal. I don't think I'd care. Okay. Next headline coming up. We got a bunch to get through today. PJ Media bombshell report reveals shocking new motive for DC National Guard shooter. Boy. So, third glitch here already today, so bear with me. I will have to fix that. So, let's just go to the headline. Bombshell report reveals shocking new motive for DC National Guard shooter. And this is the point with this story, because again, I have to chime in here. Again, so it wasn't just me, or maybe it was me that started this, that the CIA got this Afghan person to go across country and shoot National Guard soldiers in DC for the purpose to smear the president and his policies and give the media talking points, specifically the leftist media talking points, to assail the president and his policies. We made that clear. So so other people have picked up on that, including Stuart Rhodes. Great, whatever. And all of a sudden now, no. It's because, and this doesn't work in communist China, it's because the Taliban was threatening this guy's family back in Afghanistan. And why weren't they taken out if they were at risk? In any case, this is the notion. And so the article says U.S. intelligence is investigating information that the Taliban hit squad threatened to murder Rahmanullah Lakhanwal's family in Afghanistan unless he opened fire on American troops in the nation's capital. Why does it have to be in the nation's capital? Well, they don't say. It's not like he went to attack a military base in Washington where he lived. No, they had him drive all the way across country to attack National Guard that are helping police crime in DC. It doesn't make any sense, right? They weren't attacking regular troops that were stationed at a barracks or anything like that. So the Taliban want to help the Democrats somehow, hurt Trump. It doesn't make any sense, but they're reaching now because of people like you and me. All of a sudden you start crowdsourcing and start throwing around ideas, theories, speculative, try to make all the puzzle pieces fit, speculative ideas, think outside the box, reverse engineer from motive. What would the motive be to have this done? Who has the wherewithal to make it happen? And so there you have your perpetrators. So this leads to our next article as well, which is from the Federalist. The lie of third world assimilation is finally dead. The Afghan ambush and the Somali fraud scandal reveal the truth elites don't want to admit. The myth of assimilation has collapsed. And a lot of this has to do with a basic idea. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure something out here. I think it deleted something I wasn't supposed to delete. In any case, the problem here is assimilation. And assimilation from different cultures is a variable. Some people assimilate more, some people assimilate less. The key is some of the things you have to understand about who you're importing into the country and their age. Everybody's heard the idiom, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So that's relatively true in the sense of if someone was brought up in a specific culture, steeped in culture perhaps, it's hard to get them to change their ways and whatever, and their POV, their frame of mind, the way they think, their point of view, priorities, etc. Okay, so people assimilate to different degrees. I get that. A lot of the you see this in Europe as well, is Middle Eastern. It's not just the culture. It's not just Islam, but there's a whole culture also. And it seems to be incompatible with the West for a variety of different reasons. A good way to look at it would be to look up the BBC mini documentary called The Power of Nightmares. I'm not going to get into it too much, but it brings up the schism between the West and Islam, where the idea of freedom isn't allowed because it violates some cultural tenets, including tenets of Islam, etc. So those two things together, whatever. I don't want to berate or belabor Islam. As many people have pointed out, that the Islamic community in the United States, for the most part, is pretty small. And so for the fear of Islam taking over America is very small. The problem is Islam is political. And so where you get a large population of Muslims, they want to take over politically. Moving to the story, White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller vehemently disagreed with the Wall Street Journal. The great lie of mass migration. You are not just importing individuals, you are importing societies. At scale, migrants and their descendants recreate the conditions and terrors of their broken homelands. Miller is correct, says the Federalist. His point is not about the morality or worth of individual immigrants, but rather the larger structural reality of modern immigration, which is true. So you're bringing in a whole cultural, societal norms from their society, from their homeland, and then they try to apply that here and reinforce that here instead of adopting the cultural norms of the United States, which are based on liberty. And that's the problem, is they browbeat the liberty out of you because they're like, you have to pay attention to me. I believe this way, and so forth and so on. I like to leave it up to the individual. Right? You can decide on your own, sure. But I hate being browbeat with shit. It's like, I don't have to listen to you. Your compelled language doesn't work with me. I don't care. I listen to facts. Unlike Ilhan Omar, who apparently said, oh, the Somali fraud, not real. And I guess a local judge also agreed with her, and we're going to get to that story in just a minute. More from the Federalist. Democrats would like to suppress free speech the way Britain does. And this gets into compelled language. The American left doesn't look at the United Kingdom and see a cautionary tale. It sees a template to follow. Yeah, I don't know what happened to Britain or what happened to the European Union, the EU. Except for places like Hungary and to some extent Poland, they're just giving in. And the reason is to smash national identity, because what does national identity prop up? Nationalism. Oh no. National sovereignty. And since European Union countries don't have national sovereignty, what's the purpose of the societal history, norm, national pride, whatever? You don't need it anymore because they've already usurped the sovereignty of the state. So you don't need a national identity or culture or whatever. So getting to the point of the story, I don't want to belabor this too long because I want to get out of here in about 20 minutes. In the middle of the 2020 presidential campaign, a shadowy UK-based group called the Center for Countering Digital Hate, this sounds familiar, worked with NBC News and Google insiders to attempt to blacklist and demonize the Federalist under false pretext, an effort that was ultimately unsuccessful. The Orwellian-named NBC News Verification Unit reported in June 2020 that Google had banned the website Zero Hedge, which we know and like here, from its advertising platform and warned that the Federalist that it might also be banned. This wasn't just reporting. It was part of a larger political op. According to NBC News report itself, Google's actions came only after the company had been notified of research from the Center for Countering Digital Hate, a British nonprofit that combats online hate and misinformation. They found that 10 US-based websites have published what they say are racist articles about the protests. And this is when they had that national fervor coming up, mostly against unfettered immigration. Legal there. Like it's illegal here, but there they just, the EU said you're taking millions from the Middle East. And it also projected that the websites would make millions of dollars through Google ads, which they didn't want to do because they had an anti-immigration stance. And there's a lot of reporting revolving around that. Speaking of immigration in this country, Post-Millennial is reporting Sean Duffy, the director of transportation, purges 3,000 trucker license training providers after a legal immigrant driver crashes. Providers unwilling to follow the rules have no place training American commercial drivers. And what they're talking about here is that places that train commercial truckers aren't checking to see if these people are illegal immigrants. And that's the point. And then helping these illegal immigrants get their licenses, because there's a federal law that says you cannot operate a commercial vehicle in this country because you go between states if you're not a legal immigrant or a citizen. Providers unwilling, yeah. So, and I missed this story also yesterday. I had a kind of a glitch yesterday. I have a couple of glitches. It has to do with Safari. So drive me freaking crazy. Can't wait to get back to Firefox. And hopefully it won't be having problems with Firefox as well. That'll be another joy to discover. So the Post-Millennial also reports a legal immigrant trucker charged with killing newlyweds in Oregon crash was licensed by Newsom's California. ICE had lodged an arrest detainer against Rajinder Kumar, who faces charges of criminally negligent homicide and reckless endangerment. See, I thought this was another story that we'd already reported on about the Sikh driver in Florida that killed a couple and their family. For some reason, I thought it was the same story. No, this is a new story. Another illegal immigrant semi-tractor trailer driver killed 2 Oregonian newlyweds. The fuck? But there's more. What we wouldn't do without the Post-Millennial. Deadly consequences. Illegal immigrant charged with killing 8-year-old girl in Idaho hit and run received license from Oregon. Maura Garrity was struck and killed while attempting to cross Harrison Boulevard near her Boise, Idaho home. We don't need to advertise the illegal immigrant. It's just, and I know in my state, I've repeated this several times, it's like every third drunk driving homicide is an illegal immigrant. I don't know that, I guess in their other countries, they drove drunk. I don't know. I have certain issues with the whole sobriety thing and driving. Some of the blood alcohol levels are way too low to allow you to be arrested. It's like you go to dinner, you have a couple glasses of wine, you're perfectly fine, and they pull you over and do a breathalyzer and go, oh, you're 1.65 or whatever. You're going to jail. That's, I think you should be able to go out and have a couple drinks and be okay. I mean, if you're hammered, obviously if you're over 1.0, and in some cases people are over 2.0, it's a different story. But if you have one alcoholic drink and you drive within the hour, technically you're above 1.0, depending on your body weight, etc. But I don't have time to go on and on about this. We got too much to cover. Reuters. Trump administration orders enhanced vetting of applicants for H-1B visas. This is joy to a lot of people because we need H-1B visas. We need people to come in to help us do X, Y, Z. And people were up in arms about it. I mean, there are people railing for an immigration moratorium, legal or otherwise. And he's saying, oh, let's bring in more H-1B visa people. Let's not, or let's make it and what they're doing here is making it harder for companies to get that application through. They have to prove that they can't hire somebody here, an American or a legal immigrant that's already here. And this dovetails with the One American News article that Kristi Noem says 50% of visas are fraudulent in Minnesota, which leads us to believe that some of the Somalis that are here illegally. And she might even be referring to the fact that Ilhan Omar's brother got here by marrying her or something like that. So that would be not an H-1B, but what's it called where you go to marry somebody? K1? I forgot. One of my friends went through that. I can find a woman in this country, I suppose. I did find one. More news. You might have seen this on TV. I actually had something funny to play along with this, but I'm not quite up and running, but I'm going to get there. So there's going to be more video clips. We're still going to read the news, but there's going to be more video clips where it's applicable and a lot more humor. He's wrong. Minneapolis mayor says Somalis have been an extraordinary benefit to the city after Trump calls out massive fraud. So the mayor, and this is the funny thing that I wanted to get into because the mayor was talking, I guess, in Somali or Arabic. What do they speak in Somali? In Somalia. So he said, whatever this guy's name is, Fry, they have started businesses and created jobs. They've added to the cultural fabric. Yeah, have you been to Minneapolis lately? Oh my God, it's fucking overrun. They have some video. It's hysterical. It was some seaside or some festival. And it was just a wash with people in traditional garb. And, more power to the people, but American people. Like I said, I don't have a problem with foreigners. I really don't. It's the amount and how much it's going to cost. So there was a way that we were dealing with it before legally that was smart. Like when my parents came here, you had to have a sponsor. And so you couldn't get on the dole. Here, they're just like, they want to break the system. They were welcoming to me when I first came out to Minneapolis, says Fry. So they were supportive of him because he's a Democrat, because the Democrat policies benefit the immigrants, obviously, by allowing them to commit fraud. That gets us to the other breaking news story today from One American News. Minnesota judge overturns $7.2 million taxpayer fraud conviction of Somali man, leaving jurors and state's attorney general in disbelief. That's why Ilhan Omar said with a wink and a nudge, I don't know what you're talking about. I think you have your facts wrong, because they're all in cahoots. A Hennepin County judge appointed by Democrat Governor Tim Walz has overturned a jury's guilty verdict against a Somali man convicted of orchestrating a $7.2 million Medicaid fraud system, prompting outrage from jurors and Republican lawmakers. This doesn't have to do with the $1 billion COVID shit. This is a Medicaid fraud. 7.2 million. Abdi Fattah Youssef, 44, the central figure in the Medicaid fraud case, is a Somali immigrant who settled in Minnesota in the early 2000s. His wife, Luma Ahmed, 41, also played a role in the scheme. Comes from a similar background. On November 14th, District Judge Sarah West, Democrat, issued a 55-page order acquitting Youssef on 6 counts of aiding and abetting theft by swindle, despite a jury finding him guilty in August last year after deliberating for less than 2 hours. That's justice? You're convicted by your peers, and then a judge says, nah. I don't know if this was appeal judge or what. It must have been, right? This is the point. The point is they don't care about the law. They don't care about a judicial and legal procedure. They just do it. It was like the case against Trump in New York. There's not really a case against him, but let's take 2 different charges and cobble them together and then tell the grand jury or the jury that, oh, if you find him guilty on 1 count, he's guilty on all counts. What the fuck? They don't care. They just like, it's total gaslighting. It's all they do is like, it's like the Jedi mind trick. More news from Fox News. 3rd Afghan national from Biden area program. I always do that. The 3rd Afghan national from Biden era program arrested in a week by ICE agents in Virginia. DHS says the ICE agents alleged ISIS K supporter John Shah Safi in Virginia followed 2 other terror cases. That's following 2 other terror cases. ISIS K, CIA, in Virginia. CIA runs Virginia. No, they don't. You don't understand how powerful intelligence agencies are. Specifically, civilian intelligence agencies, because there's no oversight. And they're being run by their elite benefactors. As are many politicians, and that's where you get the fascism from. It's like you elect politicians, and then the politicians are supposed to represent you by running the departments and the agencies. Anyway, I digress. New York Post, Pakistani immigrant arrested with full car of guns and plans to carry out a mass shooting, and chilling note about martyrdom. Luqman Khan, 25, was arrested just before midnight on November 24th after cops found him in his pickup truck in a park after hours and decided to search the car when he began acting suspiciously. I think another intelligence-run shooter, but that's just, like I said this many, many weeks ago, that most of the Islamic militants that are living in this country as sleeper cells are being run by the CIA. Witting or unwittingly. They might think they're, on jihad, and they're getting, some guy speaking in Arabic, some cleric telling them to do something. But actually the CIA controls that cleric. That's how it works. Because you might be controlled by an intelligence agency unwittingly, because the intelligence agency could control your pastor, control somebody in your family, somebody at work, some of your friends. You don't know. If you're in a cult, the CIA notoriously ran cults. The People's Temple, or that Jim Jones thing. Charlie Manson, et cetera, et cetera. More about Islam. One America News. Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, asked Treasury Secretary Bessent to suspend taxes exempt status of CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations, and to launch probe into the group. Well, they're having some problems in Texas because they're trying to set up all Islamic only or Muslim only towns. And then within those towns, they govern those towns and they police those towns. And apparently they police Sharia. You can't do that in this country. Supremacy clause. So, but like I said, that's what they do. They want to take over, and then they, I don't feel threatened by Islam. Like I said, the numbers are too small, but people have to understand that it's a wedge, because it's not just a religious movement, it's a political movement. And they favor, you could say this for the Jewish community as well, they favor their own. And so the laws favor their own. And that's why you can't have that. Everybody in America, every individual in America has individual rights. They're not civil rights. People call them civil rights. They're not human rights. They're individual rights, individual liberties that you get if you live in America. The Bill of Rights. Freedom from religion and for religion. It's not just for religion, it's from religion. So like if you complain about call to prayer keeping you up or just bothering you, that's your right. Freedom from religion. Same thing with you send your kids to school. And maybe you don't want your kids to learn about the 10 Commandments. Freedom from religion. A couple of minutes left here. Trump administration targets anti-Christian violence with new visa crackdown policy following Nigeria attack. The policy follows attack on Nigerian church, kidnapping of hundreds of Catholic school children. And Marco Rubio announced Wednesday that a new policy in the Immigration Nationality Act would allow the State Department to deny visas for those who have directed, authorized, significantly supported, participated in, or carried out violations of religious freedom. That's the freedom for religion. Just the News, Democrats oppose the idea of a constitutionally balanced budget amendment. Then Fox News, Trump says Americans may soon pay no income tax. What? I think I have something out of order here. Fox Business, Trump says Americans may soon pay no income tax as White House explores alternative revenues. President makes comments about it. Some Americans not even have to pay income tax. At some point in the not too distant future, you won't even have to pay income tax. Arguing the revenue the government is collecting under his administration is now so great, so enormous, whether you get rid of it or just keep it around for fun or have it really, really low. Cool. I'm looking forward to that. One America News, Trump signs Medal of Honor Act, raising monthly special pension for living recipients. Also good for our service members, especially those who are honorable and decorated for such deeds. And getting back to this article, watch the CNN watchdog finds Hegseth risked endangering troops by sharing sensitive war plans on Signal. Did he really? No, according to Just the News, Hegseth advisor says Signalgate report debunks allegation of War Secretary shared classified intel. And he says you're going to see that it totally exonerates Pete Hegseth. There is no classified material in those texts. Everything he declassified, he has within his authority to declassify. And he said classified information, did he violate that? Did he put out classified information? The answer is no, totally exonerated. And then it goes on to say, there's a teeny little section in there that is really untethered from the rest of the report that the investigator states their opinion that having this information out there on an unclassified, and it was approved by the United States government, could have endangered troops. But the problem is they're completely untethered from the rest of the report. It doesn't cite to a single source. Not to a single document, not to a single interview, because it has something to do with the IG that was investigating. Like I said, Signal was an improved app. Should he have done it? Obviously, if you look at Mike Walsh, he was removed for doing so. It probably wasn't the way things were done, whatever, but it was approved. And no harm, no foul. Where any, like you said, it was untethered, where any American troops threatened, killed, injured. No. More from One American News. House Judiciary Committee subpoenas special counsel Jack Smith for investigations into Trump. Good. It's about time. Fucking hang him high. Fox News. Trump announces pardon for Democratic Representative Harry Cuellar. Now, this is an important story. The Justice Department under the Biden administration has indicted Cuellar and his wife. For years, the Biden administration weaponized the justice system against their political opponents and anyone who disagreed with them. One of the clearest examples was when Crooked Joe used the FBI and the DOJ to take out a member of his own party after highly respected Congressman Henry Cuellar bravely spoke out against open borders in the Biden catastrophe. Trump wrote on Truth Social before the pardon. They did the same thing to Eric Adams. As soon as Eric Adams said, you know what, this friggin' border thing, we got to close the border, they immediately launched an investigation and got into him. And they have shit, the FBI has shit on everybody. That's what Hoover did. He's like, get dirt, blackmail material on everyone. And that brings us to the New York Post. Eric Adams signs anti-BDS executive order, veiled swipe at Mayor-elect Mondami. If you didn't know what this is the making business or pension investment decisions that discriminate against Israel. That's what the BDS laws are. So he's saying that it's anti-BDS, which says that Mondami would have to overturn his executive order to put anti-BDS laws in. I don't believe with the BDS. Anyway, I think you should be able to discriminate against whomever. It's, oh my God, it's Islamophobic, it's anti-Semitic, shut the fuck up. I don't need permission of who I can like and not like, or trust and distrust. And I'm not anti-Semitic, and I'm not Islamophobic. I just went on a rant the other day about how much I like different cultures, and I'm interested in different religions and people's different point of view, and bring it. Maybe you have something to add. I like diversity. I like multiculti. It's not like I don't like it, but it's like, you don't allow, just because you like multiculti, you don't like another culture to steamroll you. Someone else's rights stop where it starts trampling on your rights. Pew Research Center. Americans are following the news less closely than they used to. That's why they're stupid. 36% of adults are less likely to follow the news than they were in 2016. Certainly less likely, certain percentage. Because people are stupid. I'm like a friggin' vacuum. I love the news. I love current events. I was cut my teeth on that. I had a career in that. I love news. I like new things. I like new information. Even if someone has a new opinion, I'd like to hear it. I don't have to agree with it, but I'd certainly like to hear it. That's not like the left. They're like, I won't have a discourse with you. I'm not going to debate with you. Then you lose. It reminds me of Willy Wonka, the Chocolate Factory. You lose. Good day, sir. I said good day. Next article up from Fox News. RFK Jr. launches investigation into school for alleged vaccination of child without parental consent. Kennedy announced compliance in the reviews and new measures to protect parental rights in healthcare decisions. Goddamn right. A school administered a federally funded vaccine to a child without the parent's consent, and despite a legally recognized state exemption. When an institution, school, a doctor's office, a clinic disregards a religious exemption, it doesn't just break trust, it also breaks the law. Indeed. Anything that's publicly funded. Like if you work for a private corporation, like in my case, they're like, that's what we do here. So you don't want to work here, you don't have to get the shot. I'm like, fuck you. An unproven experimental shot you're making me take? Fuck you. That has proven side effects? Fuck you. And it was with such disdain. You know, it's just, I don't want to digress into that. PJ Media, Washington spending train is unstoppable. See, that's where I had these two things paired. I don't know why I had this Just the News headline paired with PJ Media, Washington spending train is unstoppable, and they blame Republicans as well. But Just the News says Democrats oppose the idea of constitutionally balanced budget amendment. You know, states are supposed to have balanced budgets. They don't do it either, but it should be the law. You can only spend with what you have. Then it's like government money tree. Just, you know, lend them, you know, print the money, and then they print the money, and you're like, boy, a dollar doesn't go as far as it did a few years ago. It's because you keep going to the government money tree. PJ Media, Ernest Law in action, repeat offender held on $5.3 million bond, but he's only 18 years old. Ernest Law is already apparently taking serial criminals off the streets, including a juvenile thug now being held on over a bond of over $5 million. Good. And when you hear the story, you'll know why. Daquan Mills, who was who was an 18-year-old who was arrested on November 13th in connection, getting tired, with the house shooting in Charlotte. According to Fox 8, his substantial bond is likely to keep him in jail. Why? Because Mills has been charged with 15 counts of shooting into an occupied dwelling, felony conspiracy, possession of a stolen motor vehicle, and 2 counts of damage to property. But the Charlotte Metropolitan Police say that Mills' status as a repeat offender contributed to the decision to set his bond at $5 million. While in custody, Mills was served an additional warrant on November 17th for another count of a shooting into an occupied dwelling and an additional felony conspiracy charge, bringing the total bond to $5.3 million, according to police. Fuck you. You pay the price. You want to be a friggin' banger? Oh, I hope you go to prison. It's not like you were jaywalking or shoplifting or whatever. You're shooting into somebody's home. It was like that guy that shot up a campaign office, then he walked out the next day. The fuck? Zero Hedge. Victor Davis Hanson proclaims the end of climate change. Why would he say that? He says the inconsistency of the global warming narrative, the self-interest in the people who promote it, and the logic that they have not presented empirically any evidence that would convince us that we have to radically transform our economies, leaves VDH questioning whether AI's demand shift has permanently crushed the ideology of so-called climate change. Basically saying that AI needs so much energy that there's no way that the new energy demands or even the old energy demands are going to be met by non-fossil fuel energy production. A few more articles really quick. Reuters, Ukraine stares down the barrel of a population collapse. Why would that be? A big war that's killing all their men. Thanks, NATO. Real Clear Politics. As AI booms, U.S. ignores one threat that could turn off everything, and that's basically what they're saying, if you allow AI to take over, to control how energy is used, et cetera, that if AI goes down or if the grid goes down, then everything goes down. Everybody else, and the article says everybody else is worried about the Terminator. Yeah, I am. AI could figure out ways to channel energy. I'm not worried about my AI powered whatever losing that. I could care less. I could live in the woods, to be honest with you. A stack of books and some firewood and a lake to fish in. I don't need electricity, to be honest with you. What if AI, the computer, is indeed all electricity and electric circuits suddenly turned off? Oh no, what would happen? Joy. More people would touch grass. New York Times, prosecutor used flawed AI to keep a man in jail. The lawyers say the case is among the first in which a prosecutor accused of filling court papers marred by AI-generated mistakes. Of course, AI is not flawless. And as this old National Review article was republished today, the war on driving is coming. Why? Because autonomous vehicles are about to collide with the American way, which they talk about, which is, the agenda is coming. But I need no special permission to drive my car beyond a basic license and a license plate, registration. By choosing, I can go around the block. I can go to California. No tickets, no inspectors, no medallions to subsidize. I could use a satellite map to help me find my way, or I could not. I could get lost if I want to. If I have no clue where I'm going, no clue when I'll get there, who cares? Or to remember where I've been, I could get happily, gloriously, deliriously lost, a weekender shuffling toward nowhere. My car, God bless it, has no logbook, no timetable. It is a steel extension of my feet and can't be shut off by some outside influence. Thanks for joining me today. Don't forget to engage the channel, like, subscribe, leave a comment, share the podcast. A couple glitches there. I'm still working them out, but I think we did okay. Sorry for the late start today. I hope you all have a great rest of the day. And I will see you tomorrow. Check me out every day, Monday through Friday, usually at 10 a.m. live stream on Rumble and other platforms as well. Check me out on social media, Getter, Facebook, Truth Social, Substack, Instagram, Minds. And don't forget, you're under attack psychologically and biologically. So stay hip to the trick. See you tomorrow. Respect.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
I'm an American. I have rights.
The New World Order